Now, House of the Dragon seems to have taken the world by storm, just like Game of Thrones managed to do. However, there have been a lot of critics already, after just one season. Many have critiqued the show for following the same ugly pattern as GOT. But what is this pattern? Well, let's get right into it. Stay tuned for all the need-to-know details. First up, House of the Dragon seems to be following the same ugly pattern as Game of Thrones. Here's what you need to know. Critics and viewers alike criticized Game of Thrones for its failures of representation throughout its 8-season existence. Characters of color were typically depicted via a retrograde colonialist lens. Violence and brutality towards women was often very graphic, and the show's few LGBTQ+ characters received particularly harsh treatment and were often killed off at some point. In We Light the Way, the latter rears its ugly head once more, indicating that House of the Dragon has not learned much from the mistakes of its predecessor. Ser Joffrey Lonmouth, aka the lover of Rhaenyra's future king consort Laenor Velaryon, is introduced to us early in this episode. We then witness his horrific murder before the hour is even up. It's a shocking conclusion for a character we've only just met, and it's a persistent theme that many viewers are upset about. But first, we need to delve into a prime example of this. In House of the Dragon, Rhaenyra and Viserys are seen traveling to Driftmark to discuss a potential union between their houses with Corlys Velaryon. In the throne room of High Tide, the seat of House Velaryon, the king meets with Corlys to discuss marriage and politics, which in this instance are synonymous. The situation appears to be a win-win for all parties involved. The king can earn House Velaryon's support as an ally. Rhaenyra can divert attention from her sex scandal with Daemon, and the Sea Snake can guarantee his family a position in the royal lineage. After a little discussion, the wedding is officially scheduled, but afterwards, by herself with her husband, Princess Rhaenys voices her skepticism and reservations. Making Laenor the future king consort to a contentious heiress will put him in significant peril. Then, there is the additional issue. Rhaenys is already fully aware that her son is gay, even if Corlys continues to deny it. Fortunately, Rhaenyra is aware of this as well, and she has a proposal that would work in their favor. Although they will perform their duty and pop out a few heirs, aside from that, they are free to bed whoever they like. Given their current circumstances, this proposal doesn't seem too awful. The future groom explains the plan to Joffrey, who is not particularly excited about it. However, he becomes less concerned when Laenor reveals that Rhaenyra has a secret lover of her own. The two kiss and flirt, which gave viewers hope that we would see more of this unusually close relationship for the Game of Thrones universe, until events took an inevitably tragic turn. Ser Criston arrives when traveling back to King's Landing. He then begs the princess to flee the court's formalities and travel with him to Essos, where they will be free to wed for love. However, Rhaenyra is a true Targaryen. She would never give up her claim to the throne or her opportunity to rule. She is completely content for the two of them to continue having illicit relationships, but Criston is not. He only has his position in the King's Guard, and he has already broken his covenant with her. He desires that their relationship be honest or not at all. Alicent then discovers that she was used as a pawn back in the Red Keep. Otto, her ex-father, issues a dire warning to his daughter as he gets ready to leave. He predicts that Rhaenyra will be able to ascend to the throne only by killing all of Alicent's children, beginning with Aegon, once Viserys passes away. Her best chance of success, if she continues to support Rhaenyra's cause, is to ask God for mercy. Now, we know Westeros is a cruel land where senseless murder occurs at insane rates, but when all but two of the characters in a show are straight, killing one of them off right away, aka her gay son, sends a very different message, especially when it advances the plot of a straight character. And if this happened once, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it continues a trend from Game of Thrones, which reveled in punishing and killing off its very few LGBT characters like Renly Baratheon, Loras Tyrell, and Elara Sand. Of course, the most obvious comparison is Oberyn Martell's murder by the Mountain, which also resulted in a full-face altercation. It illustrates a storytelling device critics and fans have called bury your gays. The pattern dates back to the Hays Code, but it has continued into the 21st century. For instance, 27 LGBTQ+ characters were presented by TV writers in 2016, a significant number given that they made up only 4.8% of regulars on the show. It's not that LGBTQ+ people shouldn't appear in mainstream media, or that the murder of Joffrey by Criston was illogical from a storyline perspective. It's because a plot like this normalizes a culture in which LGBTQ+ people's stories must always end in tragedy, and given how infrequently these characters appear on mainstream television, it can seem pretty deliberate and inconsiderate. Like LGBTQ+ characters don't deserve to have an entire long-term story arc. They are simply there to be killed off eventually. But what do you think about all of this? Are viewers being too sensitive, or is this becoming a real issue? Let us know. Speaking of House of the Dragon and its downfall, downfalls, this is definitely not the only one. There are many that the masses have felt. Let's take a look at a few. House of the Dragon, the wildly popular prequel to Game of Thrones, has been capturing the attention of the globe. The series has been aiming to change the public's impression of the franchise in the wake of the terrible last season of Game of Thrones by illustrating the intricate political systems of Westeros still dominated by House Targaryen. House of the Dragon has captivated many individuals, and for good cause. The scenario is interesting, the characters are entertaining, and many fans are as concerned about the ongoing conflict between the factions as Rhaenyra and Alicent are. Even though a lot of people love the show, some people have some rather unfavorable thoughts about some of its most important elements. First up, many believe House of Dragon needs a new theme. When viewers first had the chance to watch the show's beginning, many were thrilled to hear the Game of Thrones theme playing over a map showing the Targaryen family tree. It added some nostalgia and served to genuinely bind the two events together. Some admirers, however, were not pleased to hear it. One commenter on social media chimed in, saying, "Come up with something unique. I don't want to hear any GOT major opening tune for the music. While some fresh music would have been wonderful, having something that unites all shows in the universe is really beneficial to casual viewers, especially those who tune in without much knowledge of the preceding episode." Secondly, some fans have criticized the show for being too brutal. Many fans have praised House of the Dragon's battles and the top-notch death effects, but not everyone is pleased. There were numerous episodes of uncalled-for savagery. "I think it's because Game of Thrones gained renown for being harsh," says one Reddit user. But of course, it is difficult to avoid some harsh fighting, considering the source material from which the show is based. Many of the horrifying fire and blood scenes are too graphic to be adapted. In addition, every fight has advanced the plot, and the program actually steers clear of the most horrific acts of violence, as it did when Daemon killed the crab feeder. Also, many viewers wish there was some humor added in, even just a little bit. The political drama House of the Dragon has so far portrayed multiple groups battling for control at all costs. However, some viewers who adore the program feel that it needs humor badly. Even while Rhaenyra and Alicent have unquestionably become very likable thanks to the show, adding humor would probably help. While little Rhaenyra's antics and Sir Criston were amused to some extent, more general laughter might have helped to heighten the shock when matters between the two celebrities turned bad. And finally, the crab feeder fight was actually awful. Daemon, one of the most powerful Targaryens, and the crab feeder engaged in a final battle in which Daemon raised a white banner before assaulting and eliminating all of his foes. Daemon demonstrated his skill as a fighter by dodging arrows and killing the men who came at him one by one without the aid of his dragons. However, a few fans hate the sequence. One viewer wrote, "The combat was GOT Season 8 level of terrible. The fact that Daemon survived the attack seems a little unbelievable. He was up against a full army as a single guy after all. Later, troops arrived, but it was obvious that some rather effective plot armor protected him. In addition, it was unfortunate not to witness the crab feeder's conclusion." And there you have it, everything you need to know about House of the Dragon and how it seems to be following the same ugly pattern as Game of Thrones. Now make sure to let us know your thoughts down below. Are you a fan of House of the Dragon? Do you agree with the criticism? Let us know. And as always, thanks for watching.